Before the arenas, before the awards.
This is b4Nashville Live. Have a question for our guest? Send it to us via Messenger.
Here's your host, George Davis.
Welcome back to Before Nashville, where we introduce the country stars of tomorrow to the country fans of today. Joining me tonight, we're going to talk about an award that she's won, but she's originally from Idaho. She's wound up kind of a unexpected audition for The Voice, I think it was, and some other stuff, but we're going to check out this artist, and she's amazing. You're just going to have to go listen to more of her music after tonight, and I'll tell you who that is coming up in 30 seconds.
Before Nashville is proudly sponsored by Go-Go Tuners, the go-to tuner for professional and amateur musicians. Get your Go-Go Tuner at gogotuners.com. By Heart to Heart Coffee, the coffee that gives back. Find out more at heart2heartcoffee.com. By Civvy's Apparel, worn by heroes, made with respect. Order yours at civviesapparel.com. And by Three Rangers Whiskey, not for the weak or faint-hearted. ThreeRangers.com.
All right, and tonight we've got a young lady, and she is, I'm hoping I get this right, Chattanooga, Tennessee is where she's living at right now.
That's
and,
it.
Get your in around there, and if you want to find out anything about her, you can go to DustyLeigh.com. It is Dusty Leigh. How you doing, Dusty?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Helps when I turn it up.
Yeah, it's usually a user error. I'm great.
Yeah.
How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm doing fantastic. If I can just get my stuff together tonight, I'll be doing even better.
No worries.
Yeah. We're going to talk about the award a little bit later on in the show, but tell me a little bit about, first off, I thought it was very interesting because you were named after your mother's favorite band.
I was. Yep. Yeah. My growing up, my mom, I kind of grew up with very eclectic music taste. My parents kind of loved everything, but my mom's favorite band was ZZ Top. And I mean, from a young age, I don't think there's a song or an album that I don't know. And so she named me after the bass player, the late and the great Dusty Hill. And so, yep. So that's how that turned out.
Oh, wow. That's it's always cool to have that kind of a backstory on a name. I was named after a family member. That's all I can remember. I
Yeah.
don't even know it back so far. I don't even remember how far back it went, but it was several years back. I mean, several decades back, or generations, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So as you were growing up, and I mean, was music just like something that was all around your house?
Always. I mean, from waking up early and cleaning on Saturdays and listening to the radio and the countdowns. And some of my earliest memories, my grandparents, I call him my punky, my grandpa, he loved hee haw and So Many Pearl, and just I grew up listening to those guys. And my grandma was a huge Freddie Fender fan, and so she had I don't know what they're called, but the old jukebox thing that is like, it has a record player in it. And so every once in a while, and it was an 8-track. And so, we'd play 8 tracks on that thing. And I mean, music was just always around. I mean, the radio was always on. So it was something that, I actually grew up with a friend in high school. Her family didn't listen to music like ever. And so I'd be like, oh, I heard this new song. And she's like, oh, I'm like, ooh, I could. It's weird when people are like, oh, I'm not really a music fan. I'm like, oh, that is unfortunate.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And you're from what planet did you come here from?
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, how sad that must be.
Yeah. Yeah. That I can't imagine that. I cannot
Mm-mm.
imagine being in a family that did not listen to music.
Mm-mm.
So was there any musicians in your family when you grew up?
No, not a single one. And nobody in my family sings. Like nobody. I mean, I didn't come from a musical family background whatsoever. It was just something that I grew up around and I loved. And from an early age, I think I kind of fell in love with music just because of how it spoke to me. Like even from a young age, there's a quote that I love. And I think it's by George Jones. It says, like, when you're sad, when you're happy, you listen to the music, but when you're sad, you listen to the lyrics, something of that nature. And that's so
Uh-huh.
true. I mean, I feel like music has always touched me from a young age, whether it be happy or, sad or whatever. So it's just something that's always influenced me.
Right. Well, what led you to down the road of becoming a performer or an artist?
Peanut butter whiskey. No. um,
Ah.
I mean, that has a little bit to do with it, a little liquid courage. One of my early memories, I was in first grade and we used to do this huge Christmas production.
Mhm.
And we had this amazing music teacher. Her name was Miss Moore. And I remember we did it first through fifth grade. I knew everybody's parts. I knew all of it. Like I had memorized it. Like I could sing all of it. And one of the gals, I'll never forget, her name was Erica Robbins. She was supposed to sing the part of Up on the Housetop, and she was sick. And so Miss Moore came and said that she had watched me mouth everybody's parts to every song and knew that I knew it and asked me if I wanted to sing it. And of course I was like, yeah, absolutely. And then I got up there and I saw all the parents in the bleachers, and I'm sure I thought I was having a heart attack. And that was my first dose of stage fright. So, I mean, singing was really something that I was always passionate about from being a young age, but
Mhm.
I was riddled with stage fright from a very, very early age. I mean, debilitating, basically. I actually, it wasn't until 2012. We were in North Carolina at the time, and I was actually opening for Parmalee. And I called my dad about 10 minutes from this, and I was sobbing, and I was like, I can't do this. There's so many people. Like, I'd been throwing up. It was horrible. And my dad, who wasn't a drinker, was like, listen, go to the bar, tell me you want a shot of something, and just take a shot and just let it calm you, and then just do your thing. So I went up to the bar, and the guy's like, "What are you drinking?" And I wasn't a drinker at the time, and I was like, "That looks good." And it was Jack Daniels, and he's like, on the rocks. I'm like, "Sure." Didn't even know what that was. So he serves it to me, no chaser, no nothing, and I was like, "That is straight gasoline." But it worked. It did the trick. And so that was kind of from that point on, it was like I needed a little help to get to that point. But once I was comfortable, and I was comfortable with my band members, and it was just kind of one of those, I just had to overlook it. And so as soon as that happened, then it was all over.
Right. Oh my gosh, that's too funny. So you got married at a young age
Did.
and he joined the military.
Yep. Yeah, we
Okay.
met when we were 14.
Oh wow.
Yeah, we were babies.
Yeah. How were you when you got married?
So I turned 18 in February. We got married in March. Our daughter was born in April, and we graduated high school in May. And he
Wow.
left with boot camp in the fall. Yeah.
Good grief.
Yeah. We do
Like,
everything a little bit backwards, but it works.
hey, it's kind of like a reverse dinner, you have the
Okay.
dessert first and then the
That's
main
right.
course,
And I'm a
you
big
know.
fan of that. I won't miss out on dessert, but I can reheat my dinner. So
I hear you there. I hear you there. So what kind of stuff, I mean, what kind of experience did the military afford you? I mean, we know he was, serving the country and doing, what he felt like he needed to do to protect our freedoms, but I mean, you had a daughter, so obviously you were doing mom stuff too.
yep. Yeah, I mean, we were super, super young, and I had sang on, for events and fairs, and my mom drugged me to every talent show across the state, and but never really on like a professional level. And then, like I said, we got married, um, and our first, most of our units were very out in the middle of nowhere. Like our very first unit was a macaw reservation in Nia Bay, Washington, which literally, when I say the pavement ends, I'm not even kidding. Like it is it is road, and then Highway 101, and then Cape Flattery, and then the ocean. Like we were 11 miles from Canada. So
Wow.
there wasn't a lot of like opportunities for that. I did end up
Well,
singing the national anthem for a lot of things when word got out that I could sing. So in the military scope of things, I did a lot of the national anthem for graduations and retirements and stuff of that nature. And then, I mean, we moved like every 2 to 3 years. So it wasn't until I think it was our third station where I had done a talent show thing, and which again, I am not a karaoke talent show type of person. Again, the whole stage fright thing. But my family, my husband and my sister, they were like, "Oh, we got to go. We got to do it." And so, I continued to do some of those things, but it really wasn't until our our last unit in 2010 when we were living in North Carolina that my husband put together this band. And again, stage fright, and he knew that I was going to have a I just wasn't going to have that. So he got everybody together we had kind of, during like our lunch breaks, because I also worked for the Coast Guard. I was a contractor, but I worked for the Coast Guard, and we would go practice on bass. Like we knew a guy that played guitar and this guy plays bass, and we were just kind of jamming. Well, then they put it all together at this drummer's house, and my husband told me, "We're going to go look at puppies." And I'm a sucker for some tacos and puppies. And I was like, okay. And so we get in the car and we get to, his name's Rick, and we get to his house and we go upstairs and all these guys are standing there. Some of them I know. And I'm like looking around, and my husband's like, "Here's your band." And I was like, okay, but where's the puppies? So that's kind of how that really started. I mean, and really it was just kind of a get to be familiar with a live band, because I was like the queen of bedroom karaoke. But I had never really sang with a live band before. I did one competition with a live band, and we never in a million years thought that it would escalate to the level that it did. I mean, very, very quickly, which pushed me out of my comfort zone very, very quickly. But I'm grateful for that. It just magnified, things happen for a reason. So
right. And now you write as well as you sing, correct?
I do. Writing is something that's kind of new for me. I don't play an instrument. Well, I play the tambourine, but you can't really write a song to a tambourine. I've been telling myself for
Pretty good
years that I want to.
a melody with that, right?
Yeah, I'm like, it just doesn't have the same vibe. But I've worked with some writers, and a good friend of mine, Dave Nudo. He's a fantastic writer, and I have a lot of ideas, and I have this book that I've written things down in. But to put them to a melody, I have to have a guitar player. I can give them the ideas of what I'm thinking, but I can't just sit down and write a song and plunk it out on the piano or plunk it out on the guitar. I have to have it's a process for me. It's not something that comes easy, but
Mhm.
I have a couple songs that are all mine that I helped co-write, and those ones I'm super proud of, because I'm like, yay, I finally did it.
So how long have you been writing?
My attempt at my first song was, oh gosh, 2007, I think, was my first song. I still have it, and I could probably do something with it. It was a good idea. It was just I wasn't super confident. I wasn't super comfortable. And again, I wasn't like, "Hey, I kind of wrote this kind of crappy song, but can you give me some pointers on it?" So I just kind of kept it in a notebook. I bought a book about like how to write Nashville hits and that kind of stuff, and I read a bunch of stuff, but I never really had a lot of time to kind of craft the songwriting thing. So that's been more of a newer adventure for me. One I love. It's amazing, and there's some incredibly talented people that when you work with them, I'm just like, you make it look so easy, and I'm, year 14, and I've got a bridge and a half of a chorus. So those people are a different breed. I swear they just have a crazy brain.
Oh, absolutely. What is one song that you've heard that you go, golly, why did I not write that song?
Oh, I have so many. I feel like if I had to narrow it down, oh, that's so hard. Honestly, I would probably say "Where Have You Been" by Kathy Mattea. It's one of my all-time favorite songs. It reminds me so much of my grandparents and their love story. And it's just one of those songs that just, oh, it gets you. Like the lyrics are just this beautiful love story. And
Right.
I never tire of hearing. It's the one song that my kids make me sing all the time. They always ask, like, "Will you sing that song?" I could sing it in my sleep. But I mean, literally, I have a list of Taylor Swift. Most of what she's written, I'm like, "Oh, it's so clever!" Like she's such a lyric genius, you know. There's endless songs. I could keep you on all night.
Just on that one.
Yep.
So when you're writing music for yourself, I mean, when you're sitting with co-writers or you're
Mhm.
trying to formulate something for yourself, what do you feel like is the most or the best inspiration that you turn to do
Um,
your to write?
Honestly, a lot of my stuff comes from tragedy. I lost my mother to suicide when I was 15. Um, and I mean, it altered the course of my entire life. And in some way, I mean, it's been 26 years this October, but in some ways, it feels like yesterday. In some ways, it's like, I think, who would I have been back then? Or, how would I have turned out now? Or, how would that have changed? And so I'm a huge fan of like, or at least I gravitate towards ballads because I feel like they're memorable, they draw people in, they tell a story, and
Mhm.
people remember them down the road. Like they're the staples of music. And so for me, unfortunately, it's it's tragedy. Those are the things that I fall back on. They're the things that give me inspiration or at least invoke a lot of emotion. And I feel like as a new songwriter, um, having that emotion, the chords that you strike with your listeners are the things that they remember. There's a reason why they felt that way, or there's a reason why that song is remembered or it's stuck. So um,
Right.
the lyrics for me are always a first, and then the melody. If the melody falls in line with that, then I feel like you got to win. So
Right. Plus the ballads are easy to dance to.
yeah, agreed.
To go back to the old American Bandstand,
Right, right.
It's got a
It's true.
groovy beat and it's easy to dance to.
Mhm.
Gotta
Some of the
love that.
longest lasting chart toppers are so simple. It's like sometimes we overcomplicate things, and the ones that have the lasting, staying power are just simple songs.
Yeah, just and you're saying they're going, "Good grief," why is it so hard to write a song that is that simple?
Right, because 'cause we're so critical of ourselves. I mean, I feel like that all the time. I'm like, songs that have taken me years, I sit down in a room with a song and they're like done in 15 minutes, and I'm like, "How?" That's why you all make the big bucks because
Right.
so
Exactly. Um, now I feel like everybody's music has some kind of little unique twist to it. What do you feel like makes your music so unique that people just gravitate to it?
Oh, that's a good question. Um, I would probably say honesty or I'm genuine.
Mhm.
Most people that have ever met me know, like, I'm pretty black and white. What you see is what you get, and, I mean, and that goes with my music too. Like, my dad said something to me when I was really young. He said when I was singing all these songs, like the Judds and just any, the things that came on the radio, like Reba and Trisha. And, um, he said to me one time, he said, "Is it believable? While you're singing, are people going to believe you? Because they're going to see right through you. If you don't believe it, if you can't connect to it, they're not going to either." And that has stuck with me through everything that I have done. I think to myself, I get pitched a lot of songs, and it's not that they're not great songs because they are, but I don't believe it. It's not something that I have either experienced or I have taken on or that I can see myself singing and make somebody else believe it. So
Right.
for me, it's got to be genuine and honest as it comes because otherwise it's not going to work. So,
Right. Um, Now let's shift off of the songwriting for just a second, and let's talk about touring just a little bit because you've toured quite a bit. I mean, you've been
see these bags?
you don't
Yeah,
even have to pack them. I'm telling you, trust me.
hence the reason I'm sitting in the chair with the good light.
I, I tell everybody, I said, every time I go on an airplane flight, they charge me extra for carry-on luggage when they see
Yeah,
all the bags under
same.
my eye. Um, so if you could go on tour, I mean, again, you know what it's like. If you could go on tour with two bands or individuals, who would that be?
Somebody from the past would be Katie Oslin. I
Mhm.
absolutely loved her. She was one of my absolute favorites still to this day. I sing a lot of her music. I just loved how spunky she was. She just was very raw and honest. And I really gravitated towards her as a kid. Modern day, right now, I would say Ashley McBride. I absolutely love and adore her. Um, I love that she's real. Her Instagram stories are so funny. They're
Yeah.
always, she calls it all faked up. And I love that real aspect because I feel like a lot of the music scene and Hollywood and stuff, it's this, I feel like it's a Ponzi scheme. Like it's not real. Like at the end of the day, we don't look like this at all times,
Right.
and I think it gives people this unrealistic expectation that we're not humans or um that we don't have hard times or that we don't, struggle through things. And so I love the fact that she gives that behind the scenes of this is what it looks like and then this is what I look like on stage. And she's just fun. Seeing her in concert, I'm like, "Oh, we could probably get into some trouble." I really like
Oh,
her.
she is the kind of female artist that I could hang out with,
Oh, yeah.
you know,
Absolutely.
and I'm like you. I feel like she and I could get in some trouble if we ever
Oh, for
hung out.
sure. Like, we could definitely find something to get into. I'm positive.
So, you're getting ready to go out on tour, and let's say you're leaving in the morning, but you got to get packed. What essentials do you have to take with you?
Um, well, when I'm packing my bags, I mascara always because that just makes everything look presentable. I'm a chapstick girl. I gotta have a chapstick. I don't wear lipstick, but I gotta have a chapstick. Uh, Tea. I drink a lot of tea. Um, Peanut butter whiskey. Always have that on hand. Um, and my shiny boots. That's kinda I'm I'm pretty easy peasy when it comes to that kind of. Oh, and a tambourine. Gotta have the tambourine. And I'm pretty particular. I do travel with my own mic. I just switched to a wireless mic this summer, which where's that been all my life? That kind of created this whole new animal. I've always used a ZZ Top mic, an
Right.
M80, and which I absolutely love and adore. But when I did my tour in Idaho in September, I had a really big stage and I kind of wanted to utilize that, so I switched to a wireless and game changer.
Mm.
So yeah, I'm a whole new beast now. Even my band guys were like, "Who the hell is she?"
Right. Like, who is this woman?
Yeah, what's going on? So,
She
yeah.
looks like Garth Brooks in Central Park. She's
Yeah,
all over the place.
exact I felt like it too, man, and let me tell you what, having that, like, my tambourine in one hand
Right.
was yeah, I thought I was
You never
something.
have to worry about, the cord getting in the way when you're
Mhm.
playing your tambourine or none of that stuff.
Yeah, no, it was wonderful. I was like, "Where have you been my whole life?" So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Wow. And, you know, you talk about the tambourine, and you carry that in your own mic with you. You've got a flight case for the tambourine that's about yay big,
Yep,
and to make sure nothing happens to it.
yep, got a little black box that I carry on, and it's got, like, my iPad and my microphone and my tambourine and my, receiver for my mic, and when we get to the shows, my guys are schlepping in all this gear, and I just set this little box out, and I open it up, and I put my mic stand, and then I put my microphone, and I hang my tambourine, and I'm like, "Well, my work here's done."
Rest of it's up to y'all. I'll see you back here in
Exactly.
about 3 hours.
Yeah. I'm gonna go catch a drink, and then I'll see you back on stage.
Sound check coming up.
Yeah, exactly. See, pretty easy peasy.
Yeah. What's your most embarrassing stage moment?
Oh, I'll never forget this. So, a few years ago, we were doing a big show, and I kinda had a little bit of a cough, and, I am the worst about I'm a perfectionist, and when I catch a cold, it lasts for weeks, and I'm not one that will do a show when I'm not feeling well because I just don't feel like I'm presenting my best self, but I was feeling okay, I just still had this little bit of a rasp, and so when I would go to take a sharp breath, it would kind of catch, and I'd kind of get this little tickle like I was going to cough. And I do Black Velvet in my set, and I happened to have a piece of gum in my mouth so that it helped keep my throat wet enough that I didn't cough. And I got to the high part, and I went to to inhale, and the gum was like, shoink. And I was trying to like pretend like I wasn't choking to death while the solo was playing. But my best friend, she's in the audience, and she is a nurse, and she was like looking at me, and I was like trying to smile as I was trying to cough this piece of gum up, and it was not coming up. And I thought, oh my God, she's going to have to give me the Heimlich maneuver on stage. Like, and it finally did. Like, I like coughed really loud, and my gum went out into the crowd. Oh, I was so embarrassed. And yeah, I had to stop. Like after that, we took a break, and I had to like, oh, it was horrible. So every time I would get on stage and I'd have gum, my best friend would be like, what are you doing? Like, you remember what happened? So yeah, that was pretty awesome. Oh, and I fell down the stairs one time coming off stage.
Oh.
That was pretty cool too. So I just jumped up and I was like, ta-da! Dinner and the show.
Just trying out these new boots. They didn't scuff at all.
Well, who made these steps? They were like this big, So yeah, good times. I'm always a bundle of joy. You never know what's going to happen at my show.
So when you're getting ready for your shows, what usually takes you the longest to get ready? Is it the pre-gaming, the peanut butter whiskey, or is it your hair, your makeup, picking out an outfit?
I can really, from start to finish, I can be ready in an hour. Like I said, I'm pretty easy peasy. What you see is what you get. Like, it don't matter how much makeup you put on this face, it's still my face. So from start to finish, it really takes me about an hour. But the way that I set up my day from the beginning is kind of what takes the longest. I'm an anxious person, and I get anxiety attacks. And so if I think too much about like who might come or how big the stage is, or, what to do with my hands, it's all these stupid little things that don't matter. And you'd think this is the first day I've ever done it. But if I start my day off really anxious, it will alter the way that the show goes. So I like to, I get up early, and I like to just peace and quiet. I don't like to have a lot to do that day. I kind of like to go for a hike or work out, just something that kind of centers myself. I'm very like on schedule. So I'm like, okay, show starts at 9. It takes an hour to get there. It takes 2 hours for sound check. Okay, I got to be ready. So I'm very like by the book. So as long as my morning is pretty streamlined and pretty nice and quiet, everything's good.
Right. Okay. Well, and there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, especially in this industry,
Yeah.
it's always better to be, to be ready. Now let's talk a little bit, because I was reading your bio, and it said, let's see, how was that worded? Let me look here and see real quick. I'm just kind of curious, since, something just got over with. I'll just put it that way. Let me see if I can find it here. It was further down. I don't think I'm looking far enough down. It was no. Anyway, I'll skip over the wording of it because I can't find it right off. But it had to do with the voice. There was something about an audition for The Voice.
Yes. So back in I want to say 2012 or 2013. I can't remember at the time. We were living in North Carolina, Elizabeth City to be exact. And The Voice came out with these. It was like the first year that they allowed for like a video submission, like prior to, and then you went straight to wherever the nearest like golden ticket area for the auditions was. And ours happened to be in Atlanta. Well, I didn't, again, I think those shows are great, and more power to people. I love what it's done and the awareness that it's brought, but my anxious self is like, we're good. So my husband actually submitted a video of me, and and it got I can't remember what they called it, the fast pass basically to go to Atlanta. So
Okay.
I worked on bass at the time, and a good friend of mine, her name is Cindy. Her husband, Chris, was my guitar player at the time, active duty. Cindy was a graphic illustrator, and I was a technical writer at the time. And her and I like sat across from each other. And so Wade, my husband, he had told them and the band members that I had been selected. So they put together this big surprise. So I came into work one day, and there was this banner. I still have it. It's like 12 feet across.
Wow.
And it said, "Congratulations, Dusty." And everybody from the base, my little area, had signed it, like well wishes. And I was looking at it like, and I'm I'm not real big on surprises. And so I was like looking around at everybody, and I was like, what's going on? And then my husband came out and he handed me an envelope, and it had 2 plane tickets in it going to Atlanta the next day. And again, I'm a planner, I'm a prepper, I'm a planner. And immediately I started to sweat. I was like, what is happening? I don't like surprises. Who are all these people? Where are we going? And now we're flying. And so he told me, he said, I submitted this audition tape and you were picked to go to Atlanta. And so we got on the plane the next day. We got to Atlanta, and I made it through 5 rounds. And it was an experience. The last round, there was 4 of them in this room, and there was a gentleman with me. He went first, phenomenal. He was so good. And then it felt a lot like being cattle. They were like, they didn't even look up at me. They're like, "What's your name?" And I said, "Dusty Leigh Huston." And the guy said, "I don't want your stage name. I want your real name." And I said, "Dusty Leigh Huston." And he looked up at me and he's like, "Your real name is Dusty Leigh Huston?" And I was like, "Well, I didn't name myself." And I was like, "Yep, that's my real name." And so he kind of just looked at me, and I was starting to kind of get a little bit irritated. And he's like, and so he says to me, "Well, if that's not country, I'll kiss your ass." And so I went like this, and I kind of like made the motion of like, towards my butt. And then he asked me to sing my first song, and I sang a Faith Hill song. I sang, gosh, I can't remember which one I sang. Anyway, I sang a Faith Hill song, and then he said, "Well, can you do something other than country?" And I was like, "Yeah, well, what do you want to hear?" And he's like, "I don't know, something." And I don't know what my brain was thinking at all. But I thought, you know what we should do? A cappella. We should sing Heartbreaker by Pat Benatar. And I did. I sang it. And I mean, usually they stop you after like, 10 or 15 seconds. No, I made it all the way to the last chorus. And so a little bit awkward, but so when I got done, he said to me, he said, "So, he kind of like gave an overview of like how, things kind of work or whatever." And he said, "So I see here that you have a band, and, if you were to move forward, you'd have to, give up your band." And then he said, "And, if you sign this over, it gives us the right to, change your name, cut your hair, do all these things." And I mean, I don't have a good poker face. I know this. And so I must have not been using a very good poker face, because he goes, "That doesn't really sound like you're interested in that." And I said, I don't know that I could honestly be like, "Yeah, change my name, cut my hair, let me give up my band." I said, "I'm kind of pretty set in my ways." And I said, "I'm a military wife." And I said, "I got 2 kids at home. And so I don't know." And the guy was like, "No, I get it." And I didn't get a call back. So, I feel like it was a great experience to see like how things actually work, reality TV that isn't actually reality TV. They gave me some great feedback, but yeah, that was a one and done. I was like, "Yep, I realized I am not that girl that's going to sell herself to the devil, and I need to work on my
Right.
poker face."
Well, and quite honestly, the viewing that, it kind of gave you a heads up on how things go in Nashville at
Oh, for sure.
times. They want to get all they can and leave you
Oh,
with
yeah,
little to nothing. So
absolutely.
I can see where somebody was watching over you, going, "Yeah, you need to learn this lesson now,"
Yep.
instead of then, because
Agreed.
sometimes you get to that point where it's like, "Oh, I'm just going to sign," and people
Yeah.
don't think about it, and it's just terrible.
Yeah.
For a lot of artists, actually. And that's what I've tried to, I've heard that from a lot of artists, artists that have lost record deals,
Oh,
they've
sure.
had record deals.
You just want it so bad. It's like, finally, I just want it so bad. And, even that fine print, it'll be fine. I'll deal with it at the end, or it'll be, whatever. And then, yeah, it's not everybody's out to be your friend. I learned that
No,
very, very early.
no, unfortunately. So in your sets, what is your favorite cover song to do?
Oh, you're gonna make me pick one? Ooh. I cater my sets basically. I mean, I know this sounds so selfish, but I cater my sets to a lot of the songs that I like to sing.
Mhm.
And also like a lot of the stuff that people listen to, which happen to be most of what I like to sing. But I think from a dynamic song that I do, one that I really I look forward to, just because as soon as we start that song, people just lose their minds, which
Uh-huh.
is The Chain. But really, I mean, any of I do a lot of, like, I do Dreams and I do Rhiannon. But because they're just classics, and they're the songs that I remember as a kid, that just, it doesn't matter where I'm at, they just make me insanely happy. I love them. I love that people love those songs. But I, I feel like for my slow songs, when I start, probably Dreams. It's just a classic. I look forward to it. And anything by Dolly. I do some Dolly songs, and I just love what I love watching the crowd. I think one of the new things for me is my next single that's coming out in January. I wrote that a year ago, and I was so proud of it. And it's a really upbeat song. I call it it's my anthem, basically. It's called The Hell I Won't. It was the whole preface of my tour. And seeing people that have been to my show and then come to my show again, and they're singing it back to me, what a ride. That is such a
Right.
thrill. So that has become one of my new favorite songs. I'm like, I stopped my show on last Friday because this girl was like, I mean, singing it at the top of her lungs, word for word. And I was just like, she knows my song? Like, and it's not out yet. So it's because she'd come to my show and she'd heard it before. And so that
Oh
was
my,
just, oh, amazing. Loved it.
sounds like she's one of those that kind of goes to a lot of your shows, because
Yeah,
I
she's
cannot
been to a
remember
few.
a song after one time. So,
Yeah. Yeah, it's great. It's a great feeling.
that's awesome though. I mean, it's good to have that kind of a following, and that they're, you go to a show in a certain, a certain geographic area,
Mhm.
that you're going to have people there,
Oh, for
that,
sure.
that do know you and stuff.
Seeing the familiar faces is great. Like, it's just when you know that, or like when I got sick a few months ago and I had to cancel one of the shows at one of the places that we really like to play, called the Blue Coyote. And when we announced that we had to postpone it because I was sick, we had so many people that were like, "Oh, we can't wait till you come back. When are you coming back to this show or to the Blue Coyote? We just love you." And oh, it's so flattering. I'm like, oh, it just makes me all warm and tingly. I'm like, oh my gosh, that people actually reach out and take the time to be like, "Oh, we can't wait till you come back." I'm like, oh, I love you. The best.
It's better than hot chocolate with a dash of peanut butter whiskey
That's
on a.
right. Oh, I have not tried that combination though, but I think I just might.
Hey, you'd be surprised some of the things I've tried.
We'll have to take this list offline.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Oh, I got one to tell you about. I don't know. We'll talk about that one afterwards. But yeah, there may be kids watching, so I have to be
Yeah,
careful.
yeah, for sure.
But so you've got the latest single that you've got out is called
Angry right
"Angry
now.
Right Now,"
Hmm.
and it's a ballad,
It is. Yep.
and so um, one of those songs that kind of gives you, a minute to think about things that are going on for people that, when they listen to it, they'll understand. And so,
In a relationship,
okay.
you'll get it.
So let's go ahead and, man, alive, I'm getting like a feedback from myself. I don't know where
Sounds
that
like
was
rock and
coming
roll.
from. Right. It was kind of like it was just a reverb. That was kind of cool.
You're like, yeah, I like that.
All right. So let's go ahead and play it. and we'll let people that are watching and listening check it out, and then we'll come back and talk about it and some more things. We'll do that. Angry Right Now, that's coming up in 30 seconds.
B4Nashville is proudly sponsored by Go-Go Tuners, the go-to tuner for professional and amateur musicians. Get your Go-Go Tuner at gogotuners.com. By Heart to Heart Coffee, the coffee that gives back. Find out more at heart2heartcoffee.com. By Cibby's Apparel, worn by heroes, made with respect. Order yours at cibbysapparel.com. And by Three Rangers Whiskey, not for the weak or faint-hearted. ThreeRangers.com.
I don't wanna hear it, 'cause I've heard enough. You sold one night for the price of our love. Hope she was worth it, 'cause you burned our love down. To hell with forgiveness, so angry right now. Angry right now that I was a fool, and that I kissed the lips of a liar like you. Used by these tears falling down to the ground. Hate that I miss you. I'm so angry right now. We had a future, we had a past. You answered questions I never thought I would ask. What's done is done now. You're gonna find out just how much you hurt me. So angry right now. Angry right now that I was a fool, and that I kissed the lips of a liar like you. Used by these tears falling down to the ground. I hate that I miss you. So angry right now. Angry right now that I was a fool, and that I kissed the lips of a liar like you. Used by these tears falling down to the ground. I hate that I miss you. I'm so angry right now.
All right, that was Dusty Leigh Huston and Angry Right Now. Little bit of a waltz tune there. I like that.
Yep.
So
I love that song.
yeah, that's a good song. When I was trying to figure it out earlier, and I thought, is it a waltz? Is it a two-step? Could it be both? And then the more I listened to it and actually kind of followed along with it, I'm like, no, it's a waltz.
Yeah.
But it's a very good song, and I love that. I mean,
Mhm.
and the story behind it, like you said, it's about a relationship, and it's about, just a one that's kind of gone south,
Yep.
to say the least. And so, I mean, and it's very relatable because so many people deal with that,
Right.
And was that something taken from your like preteen years because you've been married since you got
Right. because I married my kindergarten sweetheart.
Right.
No, that song was actually written by John Kennedy, and it was actually pitched to me, and I heard it. And the version that I heard was a little bit different instrumentation wise, and it just, even though I've not experienced that necessarily, it just, I mean, so many people have, and it just, the song was so tender, and it just had this, I don't know, I just gravitated toward, again, it's a ballad. I love ballads. So I was like, oh, heartbreak and drive off a cliff, I'll do it, So I loved it. And when I worked with my producer, Chaz Childers, and I gave him this, I was like, listen, I really want this song to be simple, and just, I want people to connect with it because of the lyrics, but also the melody. I want it, earworm. I want it to get in there. I don't want it to be busy. And so, Nashville players came back with these musical tracks, and it was just everything I'd asked for. It was great. So I'm really proud of that song.
It's a very good song. I can tell you that. I like I said, I love it. It's so simple, and that's, to me, is the best kind. Get the
Agreed.
good simple ones. Um,
Yeah.
Now, I mentioned earlier, and I want to bring this up because I don't want to leave this low hanging fruit there. Earlier this year, you had, I would say it was probably quite, I don't know if it was a surprise for you or what. Because some people, they handle things very well, and other people are just like, but you were named the 2022 ISSA, which is the International Singer-Songwriters Association Female Vocalist of the Year.
Yes. That was, oh, I'm going to keep it together. I still get so emotional about that. Yeah, man, what a moment. I mean, when you start doing music, you don't do it for the accolades. You don't do it. Lord knows we don't do it for the money.
Right.
It's this passion that is just within you. And, to even be nominated, to even be included in something like that is every
Right.
day I'm so thankful. Every time something like that comes up, for somebody that's usually rarely speechless, I was literally without words. This year I was nominated in 5 or 6 categories, which, again, as they were
Wow.
reading the categories that I was nominated in, at the beginning of the year, it was like in April, I just was like, oh my gosh, like I couldn't believe it. I was like, to be nominated in one, but all of these, I was just so humbled. And then we actually got to be at the award show. The last year I won for Rising Star, but because of COVID, it was all virtual. So this year I was so excited. We actually got to go. We got to dress up. I rented this gorgeous pantsuit, this Elvis suit that was amazing and heavy, so heavy, and no room for food or anything, but gorgeous outfit. And all of my band guys came, and their wives. I've lucked into the most amazing band family. These guys are wonderful. And, they all dressed up. They all wore these tuxes, and the wives wore these beautiful dresses. And it was just, the whole experience was awesome. And to get to meet a bunch of your peers that your online friends, and you're all in this area. And, that was one of the awards that was the second to last. And to me, I'm never hung up on like, well, if I win or if I don't win. To just be nominated has always been huge for me. I just feel like that. I feel like I've made it. I'm like, oh, to be nominated. So I never go into it expecting anything, and I never will. But I will say, when they called my name, I almost didn't hear it, because my husband heard it first, and he almost ripped my arm out of the socket. And then my band guys were behind me, and my guitar player, Greg, was directly behind me, and he screamed so loud that it literally stunned me. And I was just looking around, and everybody was screaming and standing. And I was like, oh my God, they called my name. And my husband's like, get up, like, what are you doing? It was so surreal. And all I kept thinking was, you can't say a bad word. You can't say a bad word. Because I was just like, oh my gosh. And so it was just, It was great. And when I got up on stage, the Who's Who's guys, I won an award with them actually at the award show a couple of weeks ago with them too. And they had just performed and they were behind the curtain. And these guys have played my music on their show so much. And they're just this great group of guys from Ohio. And I just love them. And they were behind the curtain and they were yelling so loud. And it gave me this moment. I'm looking out at everybody and I see all my peers and I was seriously at a loss for words. And all I kept thinking was, I wish my dad could be here to witness this, to say like, we did it, like finally, like we did it. And oh man, it was the best feeling in the whole world. I wish I could bottle that moment up and never forget it because literally I could die happy. That was it for me. It was awesome. So great.
Where did they have the awards at? Were they held in Nashville?
They were actually in Atlanta, right outside of Atlanta.
Okay. All right. Well, and that
I didn't even care that we were stuck in traffic for 3 hours on the way home. It was great.
There was nothing about, being scheduled and OCD or anything at that point, right?
Nope. My phone was blowing up so much. It took me almost the entire 3 hours to get home to catch up with everybody and tell everybody thank you. So it was great.
That is awesome though. Congratulations.
Thank you. It meant the world to me for sure.
And I can imagine where it would. I mean, I've awards from what you do and awards that I have gotten are two totally different things. I have a plaque on the wall that I won like 15 years ago for radio, and stuff like that. But it makes you feel like, you're doing it for the right reason.
Right. Yep.
Yeah,
because we know it's not the money. We know it's that recognition that, your effort and your drive and your passion and your blood, your sweat, your tears, it matters. Like people, because again, like when you're writing these songs or when you're putting these songs out, I know for me, I'm my own worst critic. I'm like, why would anybody listen to this? Can they connect with this? Is this a song that they will relate to? Or that, I'm constantly like, it's not going to work. And so when you have a song and you put it out that you're really proud of and people love it, it's just like, it's so exciting. I love that. So when you're nominated and when you win something for it, it's just, there's no other feeling. It's just like I said, you nailed it. I'm good. Like, good night, Cleveland.
Mic drop.
Yep, exactly. That's exactly what you feel like.
I have a little portion of the show that I like to do, and it's just to kind of, it's at the tail end because some people feel like by the time they get through the interview that they're just exhausted. So I like to pep them back up. So we're going to do that real quick. Okay. So just bear with me here for a second.
Sure.
So this is a fun little thing I call What the Hell, where I just throw out obscure questions.
Love it.
That have nothing to do with music or politics or anything. It's just kind of fun stuff. So, could be one that has something to do with music. Like, what song is stuck in your head right now?
Oh, it's the new Lainey Wilson song off of her Bell Bottom. Oh, you know what? I'm gonna tell you what it is right now because I knew I was gonna forget the title of this song, and it is so good. It's called Hillbilly Hippie, and it is so good. I've been singing that song for like 2 weeks. I love it.
I was thinking about not Wait in the Truck, but she's got one about a truck too. That's on.
Oh, Stay in the Truck, the one that she did with Hardy. That's such a good song.
There's another one that she has. Gosh, I can't remember.
Oh, Heart Like a Truck.
Heart Like a Truck. That's it. Yep. Yeah, that's what is.
Yeah, that's a good song too.
And but I love Lainey Wilson. I will tell you that right now. She is a character.
She is.
Toilet paper. This is the age-old debate. Over or under?
Over.
Okay.
Over. Definitely over.
Yeah.
Definitely. Because if you do under and then you pull it, you can't pull and tear because it just unravels.
Right.
If you do it over when you pull it, it doesn't unravel. See?
Exactly. I said that to my wife one time. She goes, "It doesn't matter what way you put it on. You don't have a particular way." And I go, "Yeah, I do too.
Yeah,
You just
I
haven't
actually
noticed
do. Yeah. Yeah, I'm definitely over.
it." What are your two favorite pizza toppings?
Cheese and cheese. I'm that kid. I am Kevin from Home Alone. I want cheese with cheese. I don't mind
That's
other types, but cheese and cheese is my favorite.
that's my oldest son. He was a no meat pizza kind of kid. Just cheese
Yep.
pizza is all he ever wanted.
Yep. I
Um,
love it.
what would you say is your spirit animal?
Ooh, we'd all like to say a lion because they're fierce and they're not scared of anything. But if I'm honest, it's probably a newborn baby giraffe because that's how graceful I am. So if I'm honest, I mean, have you ever seen one? They're just that's probably more my spirit animal, if I'm honest.
I love the explanation of that. That's very interesting.
Remember the falling down the stairs story?
Right. Gotcha.
There you go.
Um, what is the oddest thing that you would say to a stranger on the street?
Oh, my kids tell me all the time, they're like, for being an introvert, and I am such an introvert, they're like, you can start a conversation with just about anybody in the store. You make friends wherever you go. But the weirdest thing that I would say to somebody, oh, I don't know. You know what? I don't know. I don't know what I would say. That you stumped me with that one.
That's a fun one because it's just kind of out there.
I mean, most of the stuff, listen, they call me the mouth of the South for a reason because 99% of the stuff that falls out of my mouth is as surprising to me as it is to everybody else. So people probably wouldn't even be surprised at something that I would ask on the street because they would just be like, oh, that's just dust. So I don't know. It's probably, to me, it probably wouldn't even be weird. I'd just be like, yeah.
Right, right. Oh, that's too funny. Let me see here. What is the farthest you've ever traveled to attend a concert?
Hmm. Probably, let's see, probably about 6 hours.
Wow.
Yeah, when I was living in Idaho, there's in Oregon, there's a place called the Gorge, and
Mhm.
we would go up there for concerts.
Wow.
And so a little bit of a stretch.
Yeah, that's long ways away.
Yeah, worth it, but yeah.
Right. Now coming out of that and getting back serious here for just a little bit. Do you ever struggle with self-doubt about your career, about your music
Oh,
career?
every day. It's you know, I feel like because I'm a little bit older, I'm gonna be 42. I started this, career part of it later in life. I waited till my kids were grown, and uh, there's a lot of self doubt in when you learn how the industry actually works, and you learn that it's not really based on talent. It's money, and the industry is a business, and how much money, what the longevity looks like how young are you, and how many years can we make money off of you. um it really is it kind of dims your light just a little. um Especially when I've never had these huge aspirations where, oh, I'm going to be a Taylor Swift, or oh, I'm going to be a Miranda Lambert. Because if I'm honest, the fame side of things, that I love the going places and people don't know me. I don't know how well I would handle not being able to leave my house because people swore me. Because the first time somebody actually recognized me on the street a few years ago, I was like, whoo, like I didn't know how to take that. And before I left Idaho, I had some people that would come up to me in the gym and like be like, "Are you Dusty?" I'm so flattered and it's so amazing. But at the same time, I'm so like, I don't know what to do with my hands, So I don't know how I would handle that kind of an aspect of things. But
Right.
I feel like my self doubt comes from I have this list of the things that I want to do. Of course, I want to play the Opry and I want to play at the Ryman and I really want to play a show at the Red Rocks. And I might not be able to do any of those things. I might never get to a level where people recognize me enough and find me worthy enough to do those things. But I feel like even though I have this self-doubt, I'm also a realist, but I also know that I've never taken life laying down. And if I gave up at every chance or moment that I had with my self-doubt, I wouldn't be where I'm at. I think I'm a type of person where I've had a lot of tragedy in my life and I've never let it define who I am, but I've also never let it derail me either. If I set my mind to something, regardless of who tells me no, I'm going to do it anyway because I'm kind of a jerk. So I feel like I doubt myself every day in various aspects, but I'm also very determined. So when I set my mind out to do something, I'm going to do it. So I might play Red Rocks when nobody's there and it's dark and I don't have a band, but I'm going to do it. I don't have to decide what it looks like, so.
Right. At least get up there and look out over it. I mean, it's
Absolutely.
I've never got to go there. That's on my bucket
Oh,
list.
if there's a concert there that the interest go, it is amazing. You will not regret it. It's one of the most amazing venues ever.
I've heard that. I've got a friend that lives up in Colorado in that area, and he's been to a few shows there, and he says it's just unbelievable.
It's an experience for sure.
What's the biggest challenge that you have faced trying to promote your music and grow the fan base as an independent artist?
I think my biggest challenge has just been not conforming and doing it my own way. I feel like, especially coming to Nashville, there's always somebody that wants to take your money. There's always somebody that's going to promise you this or that or this or that. And I just feel like I'm not really good at asking or accepting help. I've always just done everything on my own. I'll do it myself. I don't need your help. So I feel like not conforming, not fitting myself into this box, not checking off the things that make you the mold that fuel the machine have probably been my things.
Okay.
Probably the hardest challenges that I've had.
Okay.
I'm not very good at being a yes man.
I hear you there.
I'm kind of like, no, that sounds like garbage. I don't want to do that.
Right. I'm like, no, I'm not going to do it. But thanks anyway.
Yeah, I'm too old at this point now where I'm like, you're not the boss of me.
So where can people that are watching and listening find out more about you and the music and that kind of thing? What's
DustyLeigh.com is my website. I'm Dusty Leigh Huston on Facebook. I'm the Dusty Leigh on Instagram. There's two Dusty Leighs, two of us. There's me, the Dusty Leigh. And then there's a gentleman named Dusty Leigh. And so I tell people that's why I had to add Houston to the end of it because they get us mixed up a lot. But I'm on Apple under Dusty Leigh Huston, Spotify, Amazon, anywhere you stream your music, I'm on there. So you just have to make sure you put Dusty Leigh Huston, LeigHuston.
Okay. And you said you got a new single coming out in January?
I do. Yep. I got a new single dropping, one that I wrote with Craig Wilson and Mary Cutter about a year ago. October was a year. I'm super proud of this song. It's my anthem. It's called The Hell I Won't. It's great. I can't wait for it to come out. It's great. I'm so excited.
Well, we'll keep our ears open for that, and go check Dusty out on all of her platforms. You can go to the website and find pretty much anything you need there.
Yep.
If you're one of these people that you just kind of like one central location, that's the place to go.
That's me. Yep.
Go right there, and then she can let you know all about it. In the meantime, Angry Right Now is going to be placed on the b4Nashville playlist on Spotify, so you can go there and check it out.
Thank you.
And then be sure to subscribe to Before Nashville so that on our
Yeah.
YouTube channel, or follow us on Facebook or Spotify, and that way anytime there's a new episode you'll get notified about it, and then you'll know that that it's ready to rock and roll.
Absolutely.
All right, so Dusty, thanks a lot for coming on tonight. I really appreciate it. I've had a fun time chatting with you
Yeah,
and talking to
same.
you. We'll
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was great.
we'll take a minute here, and after we get off, and talk a little bit about alcoholic beverages. And
Yeah, I'm in. I'm here for that.
all right, hey, everybody, y'all have a great night. We'll see you back here on Monday night. We'll have another great artist for you right here on Before Nashville. So until then, have a great evening.
And that's a wrap. Thanks for joining us. Be sure to follow Before Nashville on all social media and listen wherever you get your podcast. Tune in again for another country star of tomorrow on Before Nashville with George Davis. I'm Kevin Casey on behalf of Worldwide Fans. Have a great night.